I'm gonna act like a, if I think I'm the B word, I'm gonna act like, don't say it now, right? But y'all follow me, identity determines activity. And this is real deep because we see so many of our people acting out of character because somebody else has prescribed an identity for them. And I want you to know that people are making multi-billions of dollars off of your ignorance. Y'all didn't hear me. I said people are making multi-billions of dollars off of your ignorance. And we are so, we're satisfied with just walking around with a little bling bling. We just get a little gold chain, or we can get a grill and we think that's something. I want to resurrect each and every one of you to the place and the position that you were meant to be, not only on earth, but in the universe. That's my goal for being here. But not only this, remember I told you Imhotep was the first recorded doctor in human history. Is there anybody here who desires to be a doctor by show of hands? Anybody? Okay, hands down. If you're going to be a doctor, before you can legally practice medicine, you have to take what's called the Hippocratic Oath. Now the Hippocratic Oath was named after a Greek physician by the name of Hippocrates. And again, Hippocrates studied from Imhotep's writings. So instead of calling it the Hippocratic Oath, maybe they should call it the Imhotepic Oath. Ashe? Let's go a little bit further here. Because I know a lot of you have heard that name Imhotep from this movie, right? Anybody seen this movie before by show of hands? Okay, now the interesting thing about this is, put your hands down. In the movie The Mummy, was Imhotep a good and righteous man or a wicked and evil man? Wicked and evil man. See, when my students first came to me, I think it was 99 or 2000 when they came back one weekend, I asked them what they'd done over the weekend. They said, Mr. Koo, I saw this movie. It was called The Mummy. And I said, well, what was it about? He said, wow, this movie was tight, this movie was crunk, they had all kinds of special effects and everything, and there was this dude in there named Imhotep, and he was going around trying to kill the people. I said, wait a minute, hold up, rewind. I said, what about Imhotep? He said, well, no, he was going through trying to kill people, and he was the villain in this. And I said, wait a minute, the historical Imhotep was the world's first recorded doctor. He was a mathematician. He was an advisor to King Zoser. He was a priest and a poet and multidisciplinary genius. They say, well, in the movie, he was a villain. I said, well, wait a minute. If what you're telling me about that movie is true, then that movie is an insult to African people. They're like, man, Mr. Cool, come on, it's not that deep. It's just a movie. I said, no, it is that deep, and it's not just a movie. They said, well, no, it's just entertainment. You know, you pay $5, $6, $7, and you go see the movie. It has special effects and everything. I said, no, it is that deep. And you didn't just pay $5, $6, $7. You paid billions of dollars to be insulted. So much so, they made so much off of that money, they came out with a sequel, right? And then they came out with a third edition, which is not truthful at all about your history and culture. Now let me explain this, because when we talk about this, again, some of you all still aren't even convinced. And my students weren't convinced. I said, well, let me see if I can break it down to you like this. What if 5,000 years from now somebody decides to make a movie? And they decide that in their movie they're going to have an evil and wicked character. And let's say they give that evil and wicked character the name Martin Luther King. What would you think about that? And my students were like, well, no, they can't do that. I said, why not? Well, no, he was a good person. He tried to help people. He tried to bring people together. I said, well, I told you the historical truth about Imhotep, but if you don't know your history, people can tell you anything about your history and have you pay your money to be insulted. That's what happens a lot of times when we turn on the television, ABC, NBC, CBS, DirecTV, whatever it is. A lot of times we pay our money to be insulted, and then we wonder why we're not in control of the things that are going on in our community. Ashe? Can you go to the next slide here? Here's one of our modern day Imhoteps named Ben Carson. How many of you have read this book, Gifted Hands? Wonderful, wonderful. Those of you who have not, require reading. You got to check this out, because this is the brother who performed the first successful operation separating Siamese twins that were joined at the head. Nobody else in human history had done that. It was a 22-hour operation. He led a team of 70 surgeons. And everybody said, this is how we do it. Oh, y'all do better. This is how we do it. He was the youngest director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins University at the age of 33. Most people aren't even finished with medical school by the age of 33. But this brother understands what African excellence and achievement is. As we go a little bit further, we know that the building of the step pyramid led to the building of the Giza pyramid, the Great Pyramid. Now, let me give you a quick little test here. Which of these pyramids, well, first of all, how many pyramids do you see in this picture? Open your third eye. You see 6. You see 3 small ones. These are the Queen's pyramids in the foreground. And then you see A, B, and C. Now, your multiple choice question is this. Which of the pyramids up here, A, B, C, or C, is the Great Pyramid? What do you think?
A.
Somebody said B, somebody said A.
No,
Actually, it's C, the one furthest in the back. Before I went to Kemet for Egypt, I thought it was the one in the middle too, obviously because it looks like it's the tallest. It's not the tallest, it's simply standing on higher ground. Would you hit the button one more time for me, brother? And so, what we'll see in just a moment, as you look at this, I want you to identify who is that in that picture?
Me.
Wow, very good. So you're going to make your journey back. You're going to do what our ancestors call Sankofa. Everybody say Sankofa?
Sankofa.
That means to go back and rescue your history. And so on the next slide, what you'll see here is me standing next to one of the actual stones in the Great Pyramid. Now again, people still don't know how our ancestors did this. Each stone in the Great Pyramid weighs an average of 2.5 tons. Several stones in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid weigh 70 tons. There is no crane in existence who can lift stones that big. But here's the other deep part. The granite that was used to build the pyramids comes from 500 miles to the south in Aswan. So how were they able to go into that quarry and dig up those rocks and then carve them into stones and then transport them along the Nile when these stones weighed so many tons? People still don't understand it, but I'd like to suggest that the secret to the building of the pyramids is locked inside of you. Ashe?
Ashe.
So my students used to say, well, that's all cool, Mr. Cool, but I ain't really trying to build a pyramid. I said, I feel you. But we are trying to build strong families. Ashe?
Ashe.
We do want strong schools in our communities. Ashe?
Ashe.
How many of y'all like to make a little money? Ashe? So we want to build strong businesses in our community. Ashe? You see, I don't teach my students to go out and find a job. I teach my students to go out and create a job. We don't want to be job takers, we want to be job makers. Ashe? How many of you don't have to necessarily raise your hand on this, it's up to you. But how many of y'all know that your parents are working in a job that they do not like, just to keep food on the table? Ashe? Okay, and that's why we must take advantage of our education to determine our own destiny and employ our own people. So look at how massive these stones are in comparison to me coming up to my shoulders. And not only that, but each stone is not cut to the same size. How are they able to place these with no mortar, no concrete between the bricks, but it's so perfectly aligned that you can't even slide a piece of paper in between any of the bricks? We're talking about architectural ingenuity. We're talking about engineering excellence. Our ancestors were masters. Go a little bit further here on the next slide. And again, I wanted you to see how massive it is because it's 201 steps all the way to the top. And you can see it's 481 feet tall. Go to the next slide, please. This is the man who is given credit for building the Great Pyramid. This is Pharaoh Khufu. Everybody say Khufu. Khufu was the Ensubit, or Pharaoh. Everybody say Ensubit. Because remember, I want to give you the original terms. The Ensubit was what the Asians called the Pharaoh. Go to the next slide here. And we'll see that the pyramids were not just tombs. When you turn on National Geographic Channel, when you turn on the Arts and Entertainment, when you turn on the History Channel and Discovery, a lot of times they give misinformation about our history and culture. And not only that, but when they show these things, what do the people look like that they show in those programs about ancient Egypt? They look white. Now again, you have to ask yourself the question, why is somebody trying to claim the cultural accomplishments of your people for themselves? There's a reason why. Because remember, we said the original name of the land called Egypt was what? Kemet, right? Everybody say Kemet. And Kemet means what? Land of the flags. We were very clear about that. Not only that, but the Greeks were very clear about it too, because when the Greeks came in to ancient Egypt,